African Airforce says it's now had to relocate its workers from its headquarters in Tshwane because the temperatures inside the building are so high, the Labour Department has deemed it unsafe for workers to be inside. The problem started several years ago at the building. The cooling equipment, the air conditioning, wasn't properly fixed. As I understand it, one of the units has reached the end of its life. The two others only running at 50% capacity. Pikkie Greef is the General Secretary of the South African National Defence Union, representing people who have to work in this building. Pikkie, good afternoon to you. What's it like inside this building at the moment?
Good afternoon, Stephen. That's terrible conditions. You know, members have reported to us that they have to endure temperatures of up to 39 degrees Celsius. Remember, this is an insulated building. In other words, there's no windows that can open. And so they rely on a temperature system and a ventilation system to keep the building cool.
I mean, the SPCA wouldn't allow you to keep dogs and cats in temperatures that high. Here, people being forced to actually work in temperatures like that.
Well, exactly. And I think, you know, important aspect to also remember, it's not only the temperature that they are supposed to endure, it's also the fact that the air that gets ventilated through that building is not being ventilated properly as the system is not working correctly. So that means it creates a very dangerous environment in terms of germs and health and safety issues. You know, even now, the people that are allowed, that have to go in there because of the tasks that they have to execute are only allowed in there for 2 hours each, and they have to wear masks permanently.
It's amazing. So workers now, you've got those workers who are going in briefly. Where's everyone else working from?
Well, different components of the personnel have been dispatched to Waterkloof Air Force Base and some other Air Force facilities, you know, to work from there. Others are working remotely from home. As we understand it, it's a temporary measure. So that at least I think the flip side or the upside of this is that we might just see a very speedy acquisition of a new system. That is what we are hoping for. Because if the Defence Force says it's a temporary measure, well, that can only be the only reason why it's temporary is because there's going to be a quick solution. And that's what we're hoping for.
How long has this building had these problems? How did it all start?
Well, remember, this building was put up in the 1980s, and it was then obviously brand new. And over the years, the maintenance that should have occurred on it did not occur. I think also, to be fair, it's not the Department of Defence who needed to maintain these systems on the building, because that is the domain of the Department of Public Works. So it seems that whatever communication there's been between the Department of Defence and Public Works for the past few years, it hasn't resolved the issue. It's not gone anywhere, and that's why we're now at this juncture. Really, somebody's going to have to do something very urgently. And so, you know, this is not a question of the defence budget is inadequate to fix it. The defence budget is not meant to maintain buildings. That is outright a task that must be performed by the Department of Public Works.
It was only when the Labour Department actually went to the building, had an inspection and said no one can work here. But we've known, I mean, you've been telling us about problems at this building for a long time. It took a long time to get the Labour Department involved.
It is, Stephen. You know, at some stages the system was working and then it wasn't working anymore. So some work was done, and so it wasn't necessarily a continuous problem. But things really got bad towards the end of 2023, when it was quite clear that, you know, it has reached such a state of disrepair, these systems. It's become obsolete. There is no parts to fix it. It has to be completely replaced with a modernized units to do the circulation, the temperature control. And, so that is where we are at this stage.
Are there other places, other buildings, other institutions in the military where workers are having to sort of work in conditions like this, or is this the only one where it's this bad?
The other one was, quite amazingly enough, the Arms Corps building where the minister is housed. A couple of years ago, I think 2 years ago, the same problems were dealt with there. But the difference here was that building is owned by Arms Corps itself, the company. So it's privately owned, and they had to pitch in and fix it. In this case, however, we're dependent on the Department of Public Works to get involved here. We're not aware as a union of any other buildings with similar problems at this stage. And if there is, well, we encourage our members to report it immediately.
Pikkie Greef, thank you, General Secretary of the South African National Defence Union. Really do appreciate the time. It's an astonishing story. To other news now.